Hello and welcome to the Perry Connection. Our guest is Pat Wolcott, a local resident. Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
You are from Perry. You've lived here your whole life.
Left once and came back and never left again. It's nice to stay home and live in peace and comfort, I guess is a nice way to put it. Quiet life.
Yeah. Well, tell me about your life. Tell me about your family.
I was raised west of Silver Lake, up on a farm, kind of a hard scrabble farm, I guess you'd call it. A lot of kids, a lot of siblings.
How many siblings?
I have 7 siblings. 6 of them are still alive.
And well, let's start with a picture right here, because I'm sure for folks who live in Perry and the area, they are probably seeing themselves, and there we go.
From right to left, it's me, my brother Wes, my sister Dawn, he has his arm around, my other sister Michelle on his other arm, my brother Skip in the background, my brother Lyle, and then on the far right is my little brother Eddie. They all live locally except one, and she lives in Colorado.
Okay, and then you had a brother, John.
Yes,
who
John
graduated with my husband.
John passed away here. It's been 10 years, I believe. No, it's almost 15 now.
Okay.
He has his daughter Kelly.
Kelly Milholland.
Kelly Milholland married a local boy, Scott. They have 3 daughters.
Yes, I know them well.
He missed out on a great little family, I'll tell you. It's kind of a shame.
They are a beautiful Perry family.
Wonderful kids, too. They're great kids. Scott's a great husband, and she's a very enjoyable niece. She's fun to be around. She's a nice person.
Yeah.
We raised up on the farm for Mom and Dad lived there for 45 years.
So was it a dairy farm?
No, not a dairy farm. It was cash crops. We raised replacement heifers for some of the local farmers for their dairy herds.
Okay.
We raised beef cattle, pigs. Of course, we had chickens. We had sheep. If there was an animal that could be raised,
Did you like having the animals?
Oh, I loved the animals. It was fun. We had horses. It was nice because you could hop on a horse in the morning and ride out in the fields, bring the cows back with it.
Oh.
It was a lot of fun. That part of it was very, very enjoyable.
And did you do a lot of work on the farm?
That's all we did was work.
Okay.
Our vacation was school's over. Okay, it's time to go to work for the next 3 months. Now, maybe, let's see, you'll get a day off before you go back to school. You never skip school. Because if you skip school, you worked. If you took it, yes. If you
okay.
Oh, yes.
No sick days.
There was no sick days. No. Dad didn't. And think about quitting school. Yeah, go right ahead. I don't care, he says. I got something for you to do. I'll keep you busy the rest of your life.
Yeah. Now, how long did your dad continue farming?
He farmed up until 1986. My mom died in 2001.
Okay.
He died in 86. Yeah.
Okay.
He'd been there since 1950. He started farming. We lived in a little house down in a Pine Tavern, almost in where the 4 corners, 5 corners are in Pine Tavern. He bought the house. He'd worked at the Ford plant during the war, and saved his money and bought the farm up on top, and that's where we moved to, and that's where he raised a whole big family.
1 girl.
2 girls.
The 2 girls.
There's 2 girls.
That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
There's two. They were protected. Mom protected them. They didn't have to.
They
were
learned
her girls.
other
Yes,
skills.
Yes, they learned many other skills.
So then you obviously went to school in Perry.
Class of 65.
Okay, class of 65.
It was the biggest class at the time to ever graduate from Perry. There was 104 of us.
Really?
It was a huge, huge class. And a lot of the kids are still around in Perry.
Well, you're having your 50th anniversary.
Yes, this year it is. I can't wait to go to it. We had
50th reunion.
45th, and we met at the Hole in the Wall, and we had 30 people show up for it, and that's not bad for considering a lot of them are scattered around. And actually, it was the ones that are pretty much out of town that showed up. They're the ones that came back.
Well, now let's just talk a little bit about that, because my husband wanted to come back to Perry, and they wanted to come back. What is it about Perry?
Well, it's a community that you knew everyone, pretty much, but they didn't bother you or pester you. You could be just an acquaintance with someone. You saw them every day, or they could be your best friend, and they would. It was a nice little village to live in and around. I mean, we lived out on the farm. We were a mile and a half out of town, but as a teenager, I could walk into town, spend the night at a record hop or a dance, or just hanging around Main Street a little while until Carlisle Bump would come along and tell us, "Okay, boys, get home," and then you were done for the night.
And a movie?
Yeah, we had a movie theater. They had a pool hall above Fluker's. There was a small pool hall. I think they had 4 or 6 tables, but we could go in there, and as long as you behaved, there was no problem. Everybody knew everybody, and if somebody started getting a little out of hand, there was always somebody there to kind of, pull them aside and say, "You're not going to get away with that, so don't try it. We know who you are." And it kind of stunted your creativity once in a while, but it was probably the best thing. It kept kids out of trouble, and that was nice about it. The downtown was, there were shops everywhere. I mean, the place was full of everything from little dress shops to places I would go when I was a teenager to get custom-made clothes. Walt Zame ran Walt's Men's Shop. You could go in there and he'd tailor you a pair of pants that made you look like the coolest guy on the street if you wanted, or your shirt or a jacket. And that's the kind of place it was. And he knew you. He knew how much money you had to spend because he knew you probably didn't have much, so he would take care of you, and it was very nice.
And I think people are really nostalgic for that.
Yes, it was a beautiful village, and it still is. It could be again, but it's the box store thing and things like that have taken a lot of it away. I can remember seeing it when I first came back from the service. Some of the little stores were starting to fall to the side, and it was kind of sad because watching the last ones leave was like, you had to go somewhere else, and you didn't know anybody you dealt with. It was that simple, and it was sad.
Actually, that happened all over the country.
It happened everywhere. It was too bad because even the little industries, they were, a lot of them didn't pay very much money, but you didn't have to go far to work either. So you didn't have that extra expense of a vehicle, eating somewhere else all the time. You could literally walk from your job to home, eat lunch, and come back, and you were that close to home, and that made it very nice for a lot of people.
We have so much to cover,
Okay.
No. I'm just saying,
No
you're
problem.
such a great storyteller. We could talk all day about Perry in the 50s and 60s, but let's move on to Vietnam.
Okay.
Because that was a big part of the 60s.
Oh, and sure.
And you, class of 65, that was,
Yeah,
the Vietnam War was really underway at that point in time. Can you talk about that, what it was like
we were
leaving here?
Yeah. It was 67 when they started grabbing guys. My older brother Lyle had joined in 65. He didn't graduate. He decided that he didn't like school, and we were in the same class together. He'd have graduated with me, and he decided he was, the young adventurer. He was going to go first. And he joined. He did. He joined at 3 years, went airborne, did the whole thing, and jumping out of planes. And I told him he was nuts. Why would you want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane? You're crazy. 67, and he stayed in. He extended when he was in Vietnam because he knew I was going to get drafted soon. I just turned 19, and so my number was coming up. You could, they were nailing everybody. Of course. And especially little towns like this. I mean, you got a bunch of kids that run around in their new cars, and they're still living with mom and dad, or maybe one of them's got an apartment or a trailer somewhere. But other than that, there's a bunch of single guys that, boy, we got these guys, we want them, And he extended over there to stop me from being drafted because they wouldn't draft me until they knew
Oh,
because they can't send two brothers into a combat zone at the same time.
really? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's really touching.
And of course, naturally, when they said, "Well, where would you like to go?" when they drafted me, I says, "Well, I want to go to England. I'd like to go to Germany. Anything in South America. Yeah, we got a place in Asia before you. That's where you're going."
Well, and I have some pictures here of you and some of your friends here. Can you just tell me about what it was?
This is a picture
yeah.
from when I was stationed in Dongtam. I was out of combat by then. I only spent 5 months in combat. I got wounded 3 times, and they
What's
put me
that
in.
like?
It's I don't know, to me it wasn't all that big of a deal. I'd been shot when I was a kid, so to me it was like feels like a bee stinging you. It's hot.
Okay.
Yeah, I got hit in the side with shrapnel. I got hit in the rump with a shrapnel. I got hit in the ankle with a bullet, and I got hit in the hand with a bullet.
And so then that would take you out of combat for a while.
Well, they give you a
until
Purple Heart. Yeah, well, it only takes you out for a few days.
Okay.
I was lucky. I had flesh wounds. They were nothing, but it was enough to get you a Purple Heart. So once you got 2 hearts, they would pull you out of the field because they figured you'd kind of beat the odds. So they'd give you over your job, and I got a job at Dongtam, and I had a troop of. I ended up with
Is
about
that
30
this?
guys. Yes,
Okay,
that's
this is a picture of you.
that's a picture
Look at
of
that
me.
beautiful blue sky.
It was a nice time of the year there. The rainy season had just stopped.
This is obviously
About
the south.
90, 95. It's way down in the Mekong Delta
Yeah.
is where that is.
You look like a movie star.
I don't think so.
Now, how about this? This is another one, Pat.
Oh, that's sitting in the bunker.
Yeah, you and your bunker.
We got mortared a couple nights in a row, and they were sending helicopters out at night to wait for the mortars to come up, and so they'd make you go into the bunker. So we'd just take our beer and go into the bunkers, sit inside the bunker, and drink your beer and stay in there until we got the all clear, and out you go.
And how long were you in Vietnam?
Just a year. I did just 1 year. That was it. I was with 2nd of the 29th Infantry, Light Infantry. We were stationed out of a place called Bearcat. It's about 15 miles east of Saigon. And then we went west into the jungles about parallel with Saigon, near the Cambodian border. We worked with the 11th Armored Cav over there. We were their infantry outfit that moved with the mechanized. Then they airlifted us to the Mekong Delta, and we spent the last 2 months I was in combat down there, and they would pick you up 2, 3, 4 times a day looking for a hot LZ to put you in.
A landing zone.
Yep, looking for a hot place to put you in to start a firefight. You know, you were looking for the enemy. We were on search and destroy. And we were there during a Tet Offensive of 68, and they took us into a city called Bennett. It's a tiny little French provincial town. Beautiful place. It was a beautiful place. And they had gone through there, and they had killed and burnt and smashed everything. And we got there, and we're chasing them out. We're pushing them out of there. But it was 2 days of just, it looked like something out of the movies. It was that crazy. It was, everything was dead. People, animals.
It's hard to imagine.
Oh, yeah. It was just unbelievable.
Now, you've written a poem. You're a poet.
Well, I
and
try.
an author.
I try.
When I asked how to introduce you, you just said a local resident. So I followed your request, but I could have said carpenter, author, poet, father.
Father.
Do you want to read your
Grandfather,
poem?
too.
Grandfather.
Grandfather, yeah.
Would you read that
Sure.
for us? About your experience in Vietnam.
Wild wind blow, the leaves to and fro. The grave markers move, the flags fly low. The air does change, it's fall's new game. The ground is cold where the soldiers all go. His flowers will wilt, but memory lives on. Some have forgotten where he lies, but try to remember that look in his eyes. Crisp and clear the breeze will proclaim, after the season, autumn is its name. With the crunch of the leaves underfoot, the wings of the trees will fly so far. Like the daytime stars of color untold, high in the air, like gold floating. Stripped of their wings, the trees stand bare, naked in the snow, with their beauty left bare. So on this Veterans Day, if you're standing alone, be like me, happy you're home.
Thank you for that.
Welcome.
Yeah. How do you feel when you read these? Now, when did you write that, Pat?
Last November.
Okay.
I wrote it. I wrote, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 about Veterans Day.
And that was like 50 years, you know, I mean, that's
Oh,
a
yeah.
long time since you were there.
Yeah.
What inspired you to do that?
Every 11/11, I read Flanders Fields. It's the poem from World War I. And I'll go through my pictures, and I have 250 slides and pictures from Vietnam. And you just kind of wonder what happened to these guys eventually. You know, where did they end up? How many are still alive?
And the impact of war on
them.
their lives
yeah,
and their
most definitely.
family.
Yes, and I I do a lot of my my medical at the VA in Batavia and in Buffalo. Buffalo's a sad place to go. It's a lot of guys they've pretty much reached the end of the line, I guess. It is a nice way to say it. Batavia's not too bad. It's more of a clinic. And I actually get to see some people I knew from when I got drafted and guys I grew up with that still live in the area that were veterans. That some have fallen on hard times, others just there for care. But I'll read Flanders Field, and then I'll sit down and look at the pictures, and then all of a sudden one morning I'll get up and I want to write something about it, and that's where it comes from. I wrote a couple of Changing Vistas on it too, and they go, once in a while I get criticized by the publisher for being a little too harsh, I guess, on, I don't know if it's the government, the army, or whoever, but...
Well, you know, killing people is never really a good idea.
No, it's not a fun thing. You do it to survive. You have no choice. I mean, if you don't, you're dead.
Right, when you're in that,
When you're in
in
the
the jungle or the situation.
Yep.
But it would be so nice if we didn't have to send our...
Oh, yeah, I feel sorry
Boys
for
and
these
girls,
guys nowadays. I mean, they join up and they think, oh, okay, I'm just going to sit behind this computer screen. I'm just going to be firing off rockets, and I'm fine and dandy. I'm sitting back in some base camp someplace 40 miles from where it's happening. And next thing they know, they've stuck a gun in their hand. They say, oh, by the way, that village that's just up the road, we've got to go take it. And these guys didn't sign up for that. They didn't expect to be foot soldiers. I mean, sure, a lot of them think it's a video game, you know, bang, 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 but
You grow up really
game,
quickly.
The video game shoots back this time, and they don't appreciate, or they're terrified of. I can see why there's so many guys with PTSD. It's they're expecting this thing to be, you know, some Rambo movie, and it turns out to be nothing like it.
Yeah.
They're terrified.
Now, you've adjusted very well. And it's your poetry, your ability to express yourself. Was it you came home and fell in love, your family? I want to talk about your family.
I think a lot of it had to do with having to make it on my own as a kid when I left home, because it wasn't. There was times it wasn't easy. I mean, there was times I wasn't sure where my next meal was coming from. I was that, you know, independent little brat, but
So you left home when you were 15
the first time
and started working to
Yes.
support yourself.
I lied to get my first 2 jobs.
And so you were not attending school?
Oh yes.
Oh, at the same time?
I worked at
Okay.
Maglio's in the morning from 4 in the morning.
So
till
you were
8.
really independent.
Oh yeah, and then at night I worked at W.T. Grant's, the old Grant store, from 5 until 9, and sometimes 10. I was stock boy, you know.
So that sense of self-reliance.
I think it had a lot. It helped me a lot. Yeah, my dad was a tough man. You didn't get away with you know. I cut my finger off one time, and he says, "Well, as soon as I finish plowing this field, we'll head for the hospital." And I sat there and waited a half an hour, and I got a hold of my finger with a washcloth wrapped around it, and a chunk of finger and a packet of ice, and going, geez, I wonder if he's ever going to come down and take me to the hospital. Got to the hospital, the doctor looked at the end of the finger, threw it in the scrap bucket, and said, here, let's stitch up the end of your finger. Then you get tough. You know? He makes you tough.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So here we go. So with your story, how did you meet how's this beautiful family? Let's have this family photo. And this is a special, very special photo.
Oh yeah. It's I had both my wives are there, my ex and my present.
And isn't
my
that
first-
just lovely?
Yeah. Well, we
You know, you have
we
to
had
get
3
along.
children together, and you can't.
Right.
I get probably done enough hating in my life and anger that it doesn't. It only rots you from the inside.
That's right. It only hurts you.
Yes, it eventually comes back, and it's no good. They get along well. She's my illustrator for my children's books because we did the first book for my first grandson. We dedicated it to him.
And what is his name?
Aiden.
Aiden. Okay.
And my present wife is my editor. So
Good. It's a family affair.
Yes, give them all credit. And they both kept me in line because I would get doing things with the book and I wanted to change things. No, that won't work. Yes. No, you can't do that. And, Patty get mad. She'd say, no, I'm not going to draw a picture like that. I don't want to see that. This is what you're getting, And it came out very, very, very nice.
Good.
They're good at it. And Kathy's a great editor. I mean, she edits everything I write. If she didn't, you couldn't read it. Believe me, it would be unreadable.
And were they both local girls?
No, actually, Patty lived right in Perry here. She was a local girl I met when she'd met me, she said, just before I got drafted, I guess. I didn't know. She was 4 years younger, so to me, she was some little teeny bopper.
Yeah.
But I met her when I came back from the service. Went to, I think it was a graduation party or something, walked in, just, and you saw the picture, how arrogant I could be, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah, that.
I'm sure you were very attractive.
Yeah, and it was, we hit it right off. It was no problem at all.
Yeah. And so then you had 3 children?
3 children.
And
we
their
were together
names?
for Patrick Jr., Chrissy, and Roger.
And I'm sorry I interrupted you. You were together then, you said?
15 years. Yeah, 15 years. I wasn't really a good. I think she helped get the craziness out of me a little bit. She got stuck with the non-broken model. That was the trouble, I think. I wasn't quite ready. I was ready to want to settle down, but I was having a hard time doing it.
Yeah.
It was difficult.
It's
very
difficult anyway, but when you've come back from a
it
war.
was. Well, she even told the cop stopped us one night. We were walking back from Holly's one night, and I'd had one too many martinis, and the cop pulls up and says, hey, what's going on here? And she goes, oh, don't worry about him. He just got back from overseas. Oh, okay, and he just drove away. And I'm thinking, he should have locked me up in a jail somewhere and left me sober up in the morning and say, aha, this is what happens to you, dummy. And he didn't. She got me out of it.
Well, that's good,
Yeah.
You need a supportive wife that can.
Oh yeah,
take
no,
that.
she was a good wife. I have no complaints about her.
Yeah.
I guess she finally just had enough and just kind of said, well, that's it, you're done.
And then Kathy.
I was working construction, and we were doing some stores for Wegmans, and they sent me to the main offices to do remodeling at the offices. And she worked in the accounting department, and we met one day in the cafeteria, and I was divorced by then, and I was like I don't know, she was gorgeous, young, gorgeous girl, 12 years younger than me. And I thought, hey, she don't want nothing to do with an old man like me. And next thing I know, we're seeing each other, and next thing I know, we're living together, and next thing I know, we're married, next thing I know, we got a daughter.
Great.
And it's worked out great. We've been together for,
That's
God, it's been
wonderful.
almost 30 years now.
How beautiful. How
It's been a
beautiful.
long time.
Good. Now, we have to talk about 2 other things because it's almost,
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Sure.
it goes so fast, doesn't it?
Yes.
I want to talk about your family history, but I also want to talk about another poem, your dogs. And this is a picture of your pets. And you can't really see it, but in the studio we have Q, who is the dog on the bed, is visiting us here. And then you have 2 cats as well, Snowball and
Anne.
Anne. Anne or Annie?
Anne.
Anne. Seems rather formal for a cat, Anne. And then the dog.
She's rather formal.
Yes. And then the dog,
Ashton.
Ashton. Beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful. So they're a big part of your family as well.
Oh, they're furry children.
Yeah, furry
I guess that's
children.
That's what they call them, I guess. Old dogs wander along a familiar old path. Old dogs lead the way. One follows at last. With trusted long friends who have been so loyal. The wag of a tail, that funny old smile. Some say no soul, but they must be wrong. With friendship and companion that is so strong. The look in the eyes when something's amiss, that tenderness gaze when they feel your caress. Loyal and true till the day they are gone, we miss them so much, but what memories live on.
Have you always had pets?
When we were kids, we had a Cocker Spaniel, the first one I remember, and we always had a dog. And some lasted a long time, some didn't last very long. And living on a farm, it's tough on dogs. They want to be hunters, and sometimes they end up being hunted. But we've always had pets. Barn full of cats. Of course, you got a barn, so you got cats. You can't, they're all over the place. One time in my life I never had a pet was when I lived on Genesee Street when Patty and I were first married. And we lived in an apartment. Of course, they wouldn't allow a dog or cat at the time, so we had nothing there. We lived for about 3 months in a trailer on the outskirts of town. We had a dog when we had to give him away to somebody else. But I even had a dog in Vietnam. I had a puppy for about 4 months and gave him to a guy when I left to take care of. Pass them on. They won't let you bring them home, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, they certainly bless our lives. Well, now, when I met you and we were talking on the phone, you told me about your family, the Wolcott family. Let's talk about that, and I know you've brought this book here to share. Can you just hold that up or give it to me so I can show it and talk about the Wolcott family history is amazing. Now this is just, you can see how big it is, one volume about the Wolcott family.
Yes.
And your ancestors came from England.
In 1630.
1630.
Yep.
Wow.
That would be, Henry was they call him the immigrant. He was the immigrant of the family that came from Somerset in England. He was a landowner. He had his own farm, and they lived in a place called Galden Manor. They can trace his history back to about 1227 to John Wolcott. It was spelled different at the time. It was Walcott. But they've 3 volumes of research they've done. First one was published in 1950. This one was published in 1986, and they've just come up with the 2002 volume of the first 6 generations of the immigrants, they call it. And it's an expanded edition of the first 6 generations of the family after they arrived, where they've found more detail. And the first one is actually only 500 pages. This one's about 800. The immigrant one's about 800 too. And
and have you read the whole thing? I mean,
no.
Okay.
What you do is you trace, because you can open the book and you can find my name, and then what you do is you trace forward and backward with the numbers. You'll see the numbers by the names.
All right.
And what you do is you trace them forward.
Okay.
See the name in the middle above the name? You go backwards to that, and that'll tell you who their parents were. You go forward with their name, and that'll tell you who their children were.
Okay.
So you can
sort
read
of find yourself. Now, I opened it up, and you have this picture. This is an original picture of...
It'd be the 6th generation back from my family that settled in Wethersfield, New York. The 2 parents, the parents were born and died before they had cameras. But this is their children. This is their...
And this is where all brothers, 1 sister.
Yes.
You have a lot of men.
Well, actually, the women are starting to take over. I've noticed that. It's in fact, it's an even It's got to be almost an even mix now.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And one of your ancestors signed the
Declaration of Independence.
Declaration of Independence?
Oliver. In the book, he's known as Oliver the Signer. He was a jurist from Connecticut. He was a landowner. He'd gone to Harvard, well-educated. He ended up being governor of Connecticut after the Revolution. He was Washington's Secretary of the Treasury, so he liked keeping an eye on the money, I guess.
And he worked with Robert Morris.
Yes.
Closely, I'm sure.
He would be an uncle. My direct generation is John, his brother, so he would be an uncle. He's not my direct descendant, so to speak, but it is in the same family.
It's still impressive.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, when I first
just the whole family,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And you're everywhere. You're all over the whole country.
They hold a national reunion, and they hold it all over the North American continent. They'll hold it anywhere from Miami to British Columbia to Maine, Quebec. They've had them in Texas, Southern California,
And do you go?
Boston. No, but my brother, I wanted to go to the one in Boston, but that was the year I got divorced. My brother John went. He went, and he says, you go to the national reunion, you get to meet all the people that got the money.
Oh.
They were the ones that really show up. I guess they want to show it off. I don't know what it is, but they're the ones that well-to-do.
Yeah. Well.
Some of them are kind of a little bit straight-laced and stiff, but that's that comes with
It's
the
all
territory.
part of the American
Oh
story.
yes, oh definitely,
It's
definitely, yeah.
Amazing.
Now Oliver's son was a governor. They've had all kinds of been in and out of politics, and a lot of religious leaders, a lot of reverends. They at one time seemed to they pushed everyone to be a preacher, I guess.
And why was
education.
that? It was
I think it was
just
probably for
character?
I think it was for the education more probably than anything. They were the ones that got the best educations. You got to go to school to learn everything and come out and be a minister and have your own church. And then if you decide you want to stick with it, fine. If you don't, you go into law because you've already been trained in law too. Because you went to college, you didn't go for one thing like we do now. Then you covered everything.
And so few people did
Yes.
that you
Yes.
deserved respect right off the bat.
Oh yeah. There's an article in, I think it's this volume, about Henry when he lived in England, and then when he came and he moved up into Connecticut, and after he'd been there like 20 years, they describe him as the most honorable man in the town next to the local minister. In other words, the minister was the most respected man.
Man of the cloth.
Yes.
Well, that's not too bad.
No, that's not too shabby, I guess.
Now, Pat, you've had so many life experiences, and you're just a really lovely combination of a man's man, and yet you're a poet and you're an author of children's stories, and so you just have an interesting outlook on life. Can I just ask, do you have any advice for someone watching, someone younger, how to really be happy?
Actually, I honestly believe you travel. You travel, you see some of the world. Then you'll figure out what you want to do. And you'll know whether you're going to find something better somewhere else or you're going to want to come home and just live a quiet life and be very content. I mean, I've never been so content in my life as I am now. I've got grandchildren that come see me a couple times a week. I do what I want now. I'm retired, so I have time sometimes to write and go hiking and.
Well, you're just enjoying life.
Yes.
You're doing what we were created to do.
Well,
Don't
a
you
lot
think?
of people won't take that initiative to see what's out there other than just their recliner in front of the television. And that's sad because they never do anything. They never experience anything. They let someone else experience it for them, and that's sad. That is truly sad because I have a friend right now that's dying of cancer, and he wished he'd have done anything with his life other than just sit in his house for the last 40, went to work and sat in his house for the last 40 years and did nothing. Did absolutely nothing.
Well, what beautiful advice.
Well,
Travel, enjoy.
Yes, there's a whole world out there. I mean, there's a lot of it that's not very nice, but there's some places that are fun. I go to Britain when I want to really go hiking because they're set up for it. You can walk 5 miles a day or you can walk 25. And at night you got a pub to stop in for a meal and a beer and a place to sleep, a clean bed, a shower. They're set up for that tourist type thing. And my wife will set me up a trip like that, and I will go for 2 weeks and
come home refreshed.
Yes, just to see different parts that I would have never seen before. Yeah. I mean, I got to walk a lot when I was young, but there were places I really didn't care about walking.
Yeah, good, great. That's wonderful advice. And and that's a wonderful segue into your last poem.
Oh, the last Celt? Yes. This is a burial chamber that we found. Or we didn't find it. We went to. My wife Kathy and I.
And does Kathy usually go with you?
Most of the time, yes.
Good.
Sometimes
so
I
it's
go.
fun to share that together.
Well, this year we're kind of tied. I'm afraid we're not going to be able to. We're taking care of her parents. They're 95 and 90, so it's getting close, and
that's important.
They're having a hard time, and so it's she's tied up with it, and I got to back her up. I can't walk away. Can't take off running into the woods. I got to make sure I'm there. And these burial chambers are amazing. These things are 6,000 years old. You walk inside and they're dank and smelly, and they're some places you've never been before.
And you can walk in them.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And there's runic writings all over them, carvings. Oh yeah, they're beautiful. Last Celt. Over the hill, once where ancient Celts roamed, following the path of souls unknown. One's mind wanders to the future or past. Was I there once? Was I one of the last? Did I know the way that they went? What they saw through strife and lament? The times have come and the times past gone. Will this memory still live on? A strange sensation through my body it rolls, like a tingling of nerves, deep down to my soul. I know not where I be or where I have been, but I roam this land from end to end.
Thank you. That's a perfect ending. I roam this land. You've roamed. You love the land. You've come home.
I've gone to Galden Manor, where the family came from originally. In fact, I took my wife and my daughter Victoria went with me. Mm-hmm. We went that year, and it's quite a place to go. Somerset, though, beautiful. They say the 40 shades of green in Ireland. Well, you get around Wales and Somerset, and you got 40 shades just like it. It's a beautiful area, and I can see why they left. They left just before the English Civil Wars, the British Civil Wars, I should say, because they knew what was coming. It was getting really bad. They left a couple sons behind to take care of the place. Then they came over. Then eventually they came back, got the sons, and took them back, sold the land, and stayed here. They've been here ever since. Once in a while, a few of us go back, but it's just for a visit.
Well, thank you for this visit.
You're welcome.
You're a treasure.
It's been fun.
It's been great fun, and I have to say, I love that twinkle in your eye.
Oh.
May it stay there forever. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. And thank you for joining us. And remember, we're always connected.